Welcome to Mickey, Marvel, and More, Disney news, commentary, and opinion. From theme parks to Thanos and from Skywalker to Skyliner, my family and I will discuss it all. So let's go!
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hello, Mark here, and welcome to another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. We hope you're having a great day, and we are super grateful that you decided to spend some of that day here with us. If you're a first time or a long time, thanks for being here. We're going to start off this episode with a little bit of house cleaning. So how about some listener mail?
What message? The one you've just been playing. The one you're carrying inside your rusty innards.
This episode's listener mail comes from a listener that refers to themselves as Champ. Champ reached out to us through one of our comment sections. Champ writes in regarding our news story about the new Muppet Show. Champ says, "Long-time listener, first time to leave a comment. Couldn't agree more with your take on the Muppets. Great to see the old gang back together again. Always great to listen to a new episode when I'm moving right along down the road." Always great to have a listener that appreciates a good dad joke. Now, I'm not saying I chose this comment because it panders to me, but this comment panders to me. You can always get my attention with a good dad joke. Who am I kidding? You can get my attention with a bad dad joke. Thanks for writing in, friend of the show, Champ. We couldn't agree more with you about the Muppets. They are, in fact, back. And if you want to be just like Champ and become a friend of the show, leave a comment on any of our social pages or use our email address, Mickey, Marvel, and More, all one word, at gmail.com. All of this info is down in the show notes, and if we read your comment on the show, you too will become an official friend of the show and pick up your awards package consisting of a crisp high five. We would love to hear from you. Okay, just like the re-recording of an old favorite song follows the rule of, if it was popular once, it'll be popular again. And it seems that Disney is leaning into that idea lately with releasing live-action remakes of some of their biggest animated classics. But is it a great idea? Are these remakes a guaranteed hit for Disney? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Stick around for the family chat where Laura and I will be joined by fan favorite Zack to sit down around the virtual table and give you all the opinions about Disney live-action remakes. But before we get to that, how about a little news from in and around the Disneyverse?
Don't you get it? You see the hat? I am Mrs. Nesbit. Snap out of it, Buzz.
It looks like Disney Pixar has a brand new hit on its hands. The movie Hoppers just landed in theaters and captured a huge global box office number of $88 million during its opening weekend. This great start gives Hoppers the biggest opening weekend ever for a Pixar movie, and the best launch for an original animated film since the movie Coco, way back in 2017. Pixar has released several other original projects in the years since Coco, including Turning Red, Elio, and Elemental, but clearly Hoppers is connecting with audiences in a much bigger way right out of the gate. It seems that critics also like the movie, which debuted with Pixar's highest Rotten Tomatoes score in 9 years. While the score has dipped slightly since its initial release, it's still sitting at a very strong 94% positive. This is really great news for Pixar because those other movies that I mentioned earlier haven't done very well at the box office. We've talked about it here on the show before, but I think it clearly has a lot to do with the fact that Disney and Pixar aren't very successful with promoting their films anymore. I think the thing that makes me the happiest is that Pixar is still aiming for the fences when it comes to original stories. And although they may make many sequels, they're still trying for original material. But as we know, sequels can still deliver giant numbers at the box office. Zootopia 2 recently opened to a massive $556 million globally. And in a quick conversation with fan favorite Zack, I was told that this is way better than the original Zootopia and is a really good movie. For those that missed Zootopia 2, it's now available on Disney Plus for streaming. And Pixar's movie Hoppers is now in your local Cineplex. Go see it.
I'm half human, so that 50% of me that's stupid, that's 100% you.
Next up, we have a bit of a spiritual successor to a couple of news stories that we've done about weddings in front of Disneyland's Haunted Mansion and in the Haunted Mansion parlor on board the Disney Destiny. You see what I did there? Spiritual? Ghosts? Huh? Never say that we don't work hard here on Mickey, Marvel, and More to bring you the funny. A couple just rented out Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind for their wedding welcome party over at Epcot. Okay, I think we can all agree that Disney is really driving home the point that marriage is scary. The welcome party continued their celebration over at the Italy Pavilion and World Showcase. Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings and Honeymoons division makes it possible for these kind of events in Walt Disney World to happen. Weddings and wedding-related events can take place almost anywhere in the parks, of course, if the price is right. Wedding events are also contingent on park hours. This particular wedding welcome party appeared to be in the evening, meaning that their visit to Cosmic Rewind was likely after the ride had been closed to other guests. The bride also happened to mention in a TikTok video that they were not able to select which songs they got. I mean, come on, wouldn't that be great if you as a group riding Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind could select which song you got? Like maybe some sort of a big group vote before the ride? I don't know, that sounds like a really super cool thing that Disney could add, but I digress. I encourage you to check out the Disney Fairy Tale Weddings and Honeymoons website just to see all of the crazy things that are available, as long as you bring a Brinks truck full of cash, of course. So, what Disney ride would you rent out for your wedding party? Head on down to the show notes and send us a message via any of our socials or our email address, Mickey, Marvel, and More, all one word, at gmail.com. We would love to hear what you would pick.
Jumbo, everyone, and welcome to Kilimanjaro Safaris.
And finally, our favorite kind of news here at Mickey, Marvel, and More, baby animal news. Walt Disney World just welcomed a brand new baby animal. The first Ankole calf born in the resort in over 20 years will soon appear over at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. For those unfamiliar, Ankole cattle are the cattle that are known for their horns, the largest and widest of any cattle species. The horns can reach up to 8 feet wide from one tip to the other. The calf's horns will start growing in a few months. If you've ever been on Kilimanjaro safaris in Disney's Animal Kingdom or spent any time over at the Animal Kingdom Lodge and the animal viewing areas, I guarantee you that you've probably seen one of these guys. The female calf was born to Winnie, one of Disney's Ankole cattle. Dr. Mark Penning, Vice President of Disney's Animal Science and Environment Department, said that both Calf and Winnie are in great health and will spend some time bonding behind the scenes before they appear together out on the savannah at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. So if you're planning on spending any time over at Animal Kingdom Lodge over the next few months, keep an eye out for Winnie and her little calf. As always, Mickey, Marvel, and More will continue to bring you all of the big and tiny Disney animal news, so stay tuned.
You know, kid, in times like this, my buddy Timon here says you gotta put your behind in your pants.
No. Amateur. Lie down before you hurt yourself.
All right, it's time for some hot takes in this episode's family chat. We are going to talk about Disney live-action remakes of classic Disney animated films. While remaking Disney animated classics into live action is not a totally brand new idea, it seems to have really exploded from the 2010s onward. Some do well commercially, some don't. Some people love them, some don't. And to say that our family has some opinions about this, that would be an understatement. So, to help me navigate this minefield, I'm going to need some backup. Let's bring in my often co host and lovely wife, Laura. Thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
And now, freed from the confines of our Echo Base studios in his underground bunker in an undisclosed location in Chicago, he joins us live in our Yavin Base studios. It's fan favorite Zack.
I hate live action remakes.
Well, there you go.
Okay, Zack, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
So let me just kind of run down what we're talking about when we talk about these live action remakes from classic Disney animated movies. The very first one was back in 1996 with the 101 Dalmatians film starring Glenn Close. That one was fairly successful, and it went on to spawn 102 Dalmatians. Then 2010's Alice in Wonderland, the live action film with Johnny Depp. The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
I had completely forgotten about that one.
I think a Nicolas Cage movie, if I remember right.
It was. I believe we saw it at the drive-in.
2014's Maleficent, 2015's Cinderella, 2016's The Jungle Book, Alice Through the Looking Glass, also in 2016, Beauty and the Beast in 2017, Christopher Robin in 2018, Aladdin in 2019, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the sequel to the remake, 2019, Dumbo, the Tim Burton live-action version, 2019, Lady and the Tramp, 2019, Mulan, 2020, Cruella, 2021. I think that's the one with Emma Stone, if I remember right.
It was.
2022's Pinocchio, 2023, The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, 2023, Lilo and Stitch, 2025, Snow White, 2025, and the soon-to-be-released Moana in 2026.
Yeah, that's coming out this year. And there are some upcoming ones that have been officially announced. For sure, I know Tangled is upcoming. There have also been rumors about Robin Hood and The Sword and the Stone and probably Hercules.
So I'll jump in with my 2 cents, since Zack has already laid out his opinion. I think that some of these aren't bad. And in fact, some of them I really, really enjoyed. So, I mean, I'll throw out a few that stick in my mind as some of my favorites. I really enjoyed the 2014 Maleficent. I think you could argue that that was not necessarily a remake of a Disney animated movie so much as it was a film about the origin story of Maleficent.
Yeah, it really was. It was just sort of her, backstory, how she got where she was. I'm not sure that totally falls under our classification of a remake, but it's remake adjacent.
Right. And I would put Cruella in that same category.
Yeah,
again, an
Emma
origin
Stone.
story. So it's an original story at least. And I think that's why the 2014 Maleficent was one that I really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed the Cinderella remake. Again, the story was not exactly the same as the animated cartoon. And I thought, frankly, the visuals were quite lovely. And I enjoyed that movie. I think probably my favorite of this list was the Little Mermaid remake that was done in 2023, which actually was a fairly faithful retelling of the animated movie, complete with songs. But it's probably one of my favorite animated movies. So I also really enjoyed the story and seeing that delivered in live action.
Do you want to know why the 2023
Here we go.
live action Little Mermaid remake was good?
Okay, why?
Because it was a shot-for-shot remake of an already good animated movie. So you're going to end up with a, technically speaking, good movie if it is just exactly what has been done before. That's why a lot of people were like, hey, the quote-unquote live-action Lion King remake was good, because it was a shot-for-shot remake of the actual, like, original animated Lion King.
And to call that one live action is a bit of a misnomer because the whole thing is just CGI talking animals.
Oh, they made a really big deal that the only actual live action shot in that whole movie was the sunrise shot from the beginning. All the rest is CG.
So again, it's almost just doing another animated version of an animated version.
Yeah, and so you were mentioning a lot of the earlier films, like your Maleficents, your Alice in Wonderlands, and I think there is something different with those. That was before this whole trend really caught on. They had these ideas where they wanted to. Yes, they are still a live action remake, but they are doing something entirely new with it, right? Like those Alice in Wonderland movies, I think it would be very difficult to, I don't know, correctly say that that's a true remake because they're so different. Same goes for Maleficent. It's a totally different beast.
Right.
Yeah, totally original story.
I feel like what we consider the trend of the live action Disney remakes that we're having currently, I would argue the start of that was Cinderella.
Yes.
I agree.
But I still feel like that movie's pretty different because they hadn't really caught on to the modern idea of the live action Disney remake, where it is a shot for shot remake of the original animated film. They were still trying to do something new and different about it. The 2015 Cinderella has a lot more going on, and a lot of people like it because it's not a shot-for-shot remake. They do a lot of original stuff. They add in a lot of things that make the original story, I don't know, like they do something interesting and new with it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Counterpoint. The 2019 Aladdin, it was boring. I didn't enjoy it. I think it was fairly faithful to the original animated movie. By your logic, if the original animated movie was good and they do a shot-for-shot live-action remake, then therefore the live-action remake should be good.
Not necessarily so. I disagree.
Not necessarily so.
It's because that movie had no soul.
I mean,
you can make a shot-for-shot remake of a good movie and then have it still be bad if creatively it's just not there. The sauce isn't there. The heart isn't there. You can tell the difference between a super faithful remake of something that has passion behind it. Like, I would argue that even though The Little Mermaid is creatively a little iffy because it is a shot-for-shot remake, I think it was better because there was some passion behind it. I would argue that the Aladdin from 2019 doesn't have that same passion behind it. If you thought it was boring, it's probably because they took an hour and a half animated movie and said, well, we have to stretch this out to be longer to be a live action movie. So they put in boring things that aren't necessarily needed.
Added songs.
Yeah, added songs. It doesn't have the same energy. I feel like it's a stretch to say creatively bankrupt, but I don't know, maybe.
I think for my 2 cents, the animated Aladdin, while it had a lot of things going for it, great songs, great characters, it was all about Robin Williams as the genie. And in the live action remake, you had Will Smith, who took his own spin on it, but it wasn't the same. And I think without, as we've said from our Disney Cruise podcast episode, Aladdin lives and dies by the genie.
That's right.
And if you don't have a good genie, you don't have a good production.
I will also say that for making a movie, not just the story, but the editing and directorial approach can matter a whole lot. So if you're taking the script from the original, it's a good script, it's a good story, whatever. But if the movie is poorly edited or poorly directed or poorly choreographed, whatever, it's not going to be good. And I remember just specifically, I would also like to state, I have not seen the 2019 Aladdin.
Don't bother.
Yeah, but I remember when it came out, seeing a lot of people talking about it. So I did watch a lot of different reviews, and I've seen certain scenes from the movie, and the editing is bad. So I think that's part of what you're talking about here, like why the movie didn't feel as good or felt more boring, because the way it's put together is bad.
I think they didn't put, and maybe this is just my take on it. I feel like they expected this to be a huge hit because the first animated film was a huge hit. The songs are great. And they just expected if we do this again, it's going to be a hit again. Well, what they didn't take into account was, like Zack said, it didn't have the heart. It was people singing karaoke versions of the songs from the movie, which they performed them fine, but the acting for Aladdin and Jasmine in particular were just not good. And Will Smith was just, Robin Williams, you can say he was just being Robin Williams, but just being Robin Williams, that means he's about 100 other people.
Right.
And to say Will Smith is being Will Smith, well, that's just Will Smith. And now it's super problematic after the Oscar slap. I don't know if anybody's ever going to go back and watch that movie again.
So I would like to go on a short little detour here to just kind of describe what I think was going on at the Disney company at the time.
Okay.
So when Cinderella came out, it was a fairly successful movie. It did receive like pretty positive ratings, and then the box office was fairly successful, but it wasn't the $1 billion that Disney considers success nowadays.
Right.
But it was enough for Disney to say, hey, people really liked that. What if we remake some other Disney movies? And the next one to come out was The Jungle Book, which was also very successful and had a lot of high Rotten Tomatoes scores or critic scores.
And it almost made $1 billion.
Yeah, it almost
just
made it
short.
Yeah, and I'm sure, today for inflation, it's over $1 billion.
Yeah.
But The Jungle Book, as I recall, they also added some things to make it a little more interesting. And then after that, the next one that I would consider part of this series was Beauty and the Beast, which also they added a lot of new and interesting things in. It was received very well. It made a lot of money. So you had those movies going on, and they were proving to be very successful. And then Disney said, okay, this is working. Let's keep doing this with other Disney classics. I'm going to skip over the Christopher Robin film for this because it was kind of a different thing.
It's more of a backstory like Maleficent.
Yeah, it's not a remake of Winnie the Pooh. It's kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
Even though it is still a live action remake, it's not the same as the others.
Right.
So the next film we get after that is Aladdin. And that is when I think they really started to lose steam. They started to lose that edge of creativity the first few had. And then they said, let's just keep making shot-for-shot remakes because it's easier, it's going to be cheaper, and because the original movie was so beloved, if we change nothing, people are going to love it again. And then that's when we get into the modern trend of movies that are effectively the exact same thing that we got before, but they're made worse because there's less care put into them. But because they are still these beloved movies, they still make over $1 billion each time.
Well, for example, you were talking about Aladdin. The Rotten Tomato scores on that one, the critics pretty much panned it. It came in at like a 57%, but the people loved it because it comes in at a 94 on the viewer score, and it made over $1.5 billion. And that's crazy. And it was only made for 83 million.
So yeah, it was after that point where Disney was like, we can just keep doing this because the money is going to come in no matter the quality of the movie. And that's how we ended up into the, the terrible scape of cinema that we are currently in with these Disney live action remakes.
I mean, I agree. I will say that, on the latter films on this list, we have not seen many of them. We've seen a few, but we have not seen nearly as many as we saw before Aladdin. We watched all of them because, we're Disney people and we want to support Disney. But after seeing Aladdin, now we didn't even see Aladdin in the theater. We watched Aladdin at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall watching that thing and I just came away feeling empty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I would have been much better off if we would have just watched the animated version of the film again, because Robin Williams was so much better as the genie. And even though they were animated, the acting was better from the core cast. And it made a lot of money because people went to go see it. I don't know how they were able to enjoy it, but it still made the money.
I stopped after Beauty and the Beast. I haven't seen any of them since then because I kind of started to see the writing on the wall and I knew what was coming. And so I kind of tapped out.
So I think we can all agree that we find an original story more interesting than one that we've heard before.
Yeah, exactly.
But let me posit this to the group. I mean, aren't so many of these Disney classic animated tales, or let's face it, a lot of stories that are made into movies, just retellings of stories that have been told before?
Sure. I mean, there is in the storytelling world, there are only so many stories, but you do them in a way that's different than what's been done before, or you pack it full of so many good actors, actresses, and directors that they are able to create something really, really good. To just open up the VHS cassette of Aladdin, slap it into a VCR and say, okay, we need you to stand there just like they were standing there. We need you to say this just like they were saying that. And that's exactly what they did with Aladdin. I think that even though retelling of stories happens over and over again in Hollywood, because there truly are only so many stories, it's the creativity that is missing in these. They kind of feel, like Zack said, they're kind of soulless.
Didn't they remove all the music from the live action Mulan?
Yes,
it was not a musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the times where they said, well, we're going to do something different and interesting. And then it made the movie worse and bad and boring.
Well, and I think Mulan only had in the original film only like 3 songs anyway, right?
So let me ask you both this question, because I'm hearing some kind of different things here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that you object to Disney doing these live action remakes because you find it creatively uninteresting? Or are you saying you're okay with them retelling a tale that's been told before as long as it has high production values and good acting?
No, that's not what I said.
So my biggest issue is I feel like the Walt Disney Company has taken this approach of all the live action Disney remakes. And to me, it is saying they are delegitimizing the animated films that came before.
Ooh,
because
okay.
Yes, because they are, at least to me, it reads as, oh, these animated films, like the animation that the Walt Disney Company was like founded on, like that's, animated films are their bread and butter. To me, they are saying they are not worth as much because they have to be remade. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
Like that they feel that live action is the only legitimate form of like filmmaking.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay.
Because Disney as a company has always said that they are storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't animators. They aren't theme park companies. They aren't movie companies. They are storytellers. And Disney over and over has taken a story and retold it in different ways. For example, they made the Snow White animated feature in
1939.
In 1939. They made an attraction based on that story. Is it a retelling of that story? Absolutely. Do they make then a live action movie that is retelling the same story? Sure they do. Do they make a stage show in a Disney theme park that is retelling the story? Absolutely.
I don't think Snow White is a good example. All the controversy surrounding that movie.
Well, here's the deal. The theme park attraction is totally different. That is a totally different thing. You can't compare the animated film with the attraction. That's not a remake. That is putting a Disney property in a Disney park. That's not the same thing.
Experiencing the movie in that way, in like through like a theme park attraction, is very different than watching a movie or a remake of a movie. It's a totally different experience.
Yes, but it is a retelling of the story.
But it's not the same thing. It is really not the same thing.
There is inherently going to be much more creativity put into adapting a movie for a ride format than there is remaking it as an actual film.
Because you've got to come up with a ride system. You've got to come up with a way to tell the story. You have to come up with a design of a building. You have to come up with the animatronics. There's so much more involved than just retelling the story.
All right. What about an adaptation of a classic Disney animated movie to a Broadway musical? Tell me Beauty and the Beast on Broadway is a terrible show.
It is. That's a totally different thing too. Broadway is made for music and telling stories on the stage. A staged version of any sort of a book or a movie, or, you know, in this case, an animated movie, is always going to be creatively different because you've got to make choices to retell the story on a stage. That's not retelling a story. That's creating something new.
Now, I will say, not every movie needs to be made into a Broadway musical. We have seen that that doesn't always work out.
Right.
But I would also argue that there is a significant difference of adapting a movie for the stage versus making a remake of the movie for, you know, the cinemas, because it's a totally different creative medium. It's a totally different expression of that story. Yes, animation is very different than live action. You know, there are totally different things that go into that, totally different limitations, you know, things of that nature. But, and yeah, this is definitely simplifying and generalizing a bit, but it's still a movie. You are still making it for, you know, the viewing medium of, for the screen. Even though there are definitely differences between animation and live action, and creative differences you have to make either adaptation work, it's still a movie. It's still for the screen.
Right. And making a thing into a Broadway show, that's a totally different viewing experience. That's a totally different creative endeavor. Just taking an animated film and then turning it into a live action film with scenes that are in many cases a shot for shot version. It's some of them are good. And, you know, because you like the music, you're like, okay, this is all right. Cause I'm kind of on the fence on some of this, but I am very much, and this kind of boils over from my theme park love. I want original stuff. I am, you know, I feel like we're never going, in the theme parks, we're never going to get another Big Thunder Mountain. We're never going to get a Haunted Mansion. We're never going to get we're never going to get an Expedition Everest. It's going to continue to be IP, IP, IP.
Expedition Everest is the last original IP attraction that Disney ever made in any of the American theme parks. And that opened in what, 2006?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It's been 20 years since Disney has made a original IP attraction for any of the parks. And I feel like we are seeing this expressed in their filmmaking as well. Their model currently for live action movies is, let's remake an animated one. Let's dig back through our catalog and do something again that we've already done. They're making a live action Moana 10 years after the original came out.
And I fear this one's going to be a shot for shot remake as well.
I'm sure it will be. I just feel like that's very emblematic of their approach at this time. Their other live action movies are from like other studios entirely, like your Marvels and your Star Wars. Disney is not making other original live action movies anymore.
Thank God for Pixar.
Yeah, and even in their animated department, they're very sequel focused right now.
Sure. Frozen.
But like the last, and okay, so I know this isn't an original per se live action Disney movie, but I feel like the last like series of original-ish movies that live-action Disney made were the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Granted, those are based on the ride IP.
Yeah, but that was a totally new spin. And they created a story that didn't exist. They took the backdrop that we're familiar with. They took some sight gags that we're familiar with, but they filled it full of great character actors with a story that didn't exist. So it was creatively something new and visually great.
And also to go back to the idea of, taking stories and telling them over again. The Cinderella story has existed for who knows how many years. Because all of these are based on like Grimm's fairy tales or, whatever else like that. These kinds of stories have existed for a very, very, very long time. I know Cinderella in particular has had so many different tellings across so many different things. And so you can take stories like that and, tell them in new and interesting ways. That is something that can be done. That's something that can be interesting. How many different retellings of Frankenstein have come out recently? I feel like there are 5. The issue that is coming out that is like, I don't know, becoming more present is whenever Disney tends to make a retelling of a classic fairy tale, it then, because of the culture we're in, that then becomes the like canonical depiction of that story.
That's fair.
So now when someone says like, oh, Cinderella, you don't think of the original story, you think of the Disney version.
True.
Now, Cinderella, granted, is a little different because it's popular enough that it still finds its way into other things. But like a Little Mermaid, you are not thinking of the original story. A Frozen, you are not thinking of what that is based on. You were thinking of the Disney animated film. So because, Disney's popularity, the cultural stage it has, anytime they make a movie, it becomes the definitive version of that story, which is a weird situation to be in. So to sum it up, yes, you can retell these stories in new and interesting ways, but because of the way that Disney is, once they make one of these movies, that's the version of that story that everyone else is going to know and accept. And making anything else is going to be difficult because you are not going to be thinking about the original story.
So here's my last word on the subject.
Final thoughts coming up.
I think I certainly enjoy an original story more than a remake. And I will say that I think Disney has probably focused too much in their movie making on doing live action remakes instead of other original content. I will grant you that all day long. I will say for me, much like I enjoy seeing a live action character in the park of an animated character, I like seeing these animated characters in a human form in a live action movie. I think it's fun. Not all the movies are great, and I am disappointed by that, but I don't think the concept overall of making a live action movie based on an animated one should be completely dismissed out of hand. I think there is a place for it. I think right now that place is a little overblown, but I think there is a place for it.
All right, Zach, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, you make a very good point. Like, ultimately, if you enjoy these, I don't know, that's
if they
your
were
thing.
popular once, they'll be popular again.
Like you're allowed to enjoy and watch and consume whatever you want, I guess, at the end of the day. That's
boy, that seems like being damned with faint praise or something.
No, it's you do what you want to do. I will say, giving them money and giving them attention for that does reinforce bad behavior. And I just think that this isn't the way to go. I think, seeing a live action remake of something that was animated before can be very interesting if it is done in a creative and interesting way. These are just not creative or interesting to me. And I think if you want to see these stories, go watch the original animated one, because what I think they're doing right now is not good.
All right. I'll come in with my final thoughts. I very much side with Zack on this.
Yeah.
I feel like I just want original stuff. I don't mind a sequel to something popular. I don't mind, a spin-off of something popular.
You kidding me? I'm a Marvel fan. That's what I
know.
That's all I
Well, and
consume.
again, I've said it over and over again. Fan service. I love it. Serve me. I'm a fan when it comes to Star Wars and when it comes to Marvel. But those are a little bit of a different animal when it comes to storytelling, because they're just these huge overarching continuing stories. But when we're talking about, taking an animated classic that really, as you said earlier, have become the touchstone of that particular story and will forever be attached to Disney because of that reason, to try to take it and turn it into a live action, it still feels like a cash grab to me. And it works. And that's probably why they're going to continue to keep doing it. And I want to see original stuff. I want to see original stuff in the theme parks. I want to see original stuff on the big screen. Thankfully, there's still somebody like Pixar who put out something just this weekend.
Hoppers.
Yeah, apparently it's getting all kinds of good praise. It's an original story. Now, it could be based on something. It could be based on a trope, but it's an original story. And I'm excited to see it because of that very reason. I ultimately want original stories, and I feel like I'm not getting that from Disney proper when it comes to Disney film, their film department, and I feel like in some cases their animated department, because they're got a bad case of sequelitis going on right here. So we'll leave it at that, and this will be a continuing, ongoing discussion here at Mickey, Marvel, and More. This has probably been the most heated discussion we have had in the family chat. And at one point, I think I even caught myself saying to you, honey, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
So thank you both so very much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Stop her! Want me to sting her? Buzz off. Okay, fine. But remember, be yourself.
Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. And a big thank you to Laura and fan favorite Zack for hanging out with me in the family chat and debating whether live-action remakes of animated classics are a good idea. I have a feeling that our listeners probably have a lot of opinions about this as well. So, if you want to share one of your comments about the subject, head on down to the show notes and leave us a comment on any of our socials, or use our email address, mickeymarvelandmore, all one word, @gmail.com, and let us know what you think. And hey, while you're there in the show notes, be sure to check out all of the links to all of the stories we talked about today. Speaking of today's stories, I wonder if maybe I should head over to that Disney wedding website to see if Laura and I can renew our vows while ziplining out of Cinderella Castle like Tinkerbell. Although I have a feeling if I have a hard time squeezing my big behind into the Tron light cycles, I probably wouldn't soar like an eagle ziplining out of Cinderella's castle. I'd probably be a lot more like those turkeys being dropped out of the helicopter in the WKRP Thanksgiving episode. Hey, before we get out of here, I've got a quick programming note for everybody. The next episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More to drop will be our annual spring break, boots on the ground Walt Disney World trip report. We're going to do all kinds of new things during this trip, as well as staying at a brand new resort that we've never stayed at before. We will definitely have a lot to talk about, so be sure you don't miss it. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, my name is Mark, and this has been Mickey, Marvel, and More. If you didn't, my name is Alex, and you've been listening to Containers, where we discuss all of the ins and outs of the shipping and logistics industry. Next week, we're going to talk all about the dangers of packing peanuts and the static electricity they cause. The results will be shocking. Started the show with a dad joke from friend of the show Champ and ended the show with a dad joke. I could not be more proud. We'll see you next time.